Hey everyone, Trish Charleston here, also known as the Cowboy's Wife. I'm no expert on anything and I don't claim to be, but I have been alive for 56 years, so I have some funny stories. Come saddle up with me and take a ride, and maybe I can make you laugh or smile or cry or give you something to just think about that day. Let's do this. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Trish Charleston here, also known as the Cowboy's Wife. And today I have with me Cheramie Hebert. If you see her name spelled, you would never understand how to pronounce it because that name is from Louisiana. I guess you'd say it's is it Cajun? I mean, how would you describe it?
Yeah. I mean, Cheramie actually in French is Cheramie, which is different.
Nice.
Hebert is like, if you're an Hebert in Louisiana, you're like a Smith anywhere else.
Oh,
It's just,
really?
yeah,
I didn't realize. So your husband's from Louisiana, but you're from Louisiana too?
Yep.
I did not know that. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I thought he just found you on the way back to Missouri or something. I did not know that. Okay, so I know Cheramie because her husband, her sweet husband, shoes horses for us, and we unfortunately spend a lot of time with Paul. Not unfortunately because he's pleasant, but unfortunately it costs a lot of money to shoe a lot of horses, and he's here about once a week, and we visit. But Cheramie and I had never gotten a chance to visit much. But since I've been doing these last few podcasts about people's trials and things, and I reached out and asked people to write to me if they thought they had something to share. And Paul and Cheramie struggled with infertility, and I think this is something that many people go through that we don't even realize people go through. Kevin and I were blessed that we did not have this problem. I swear I could just look at him naked and I'd be pregnant. I mean, it was just like that every time. And so but we had friends that went through this, and it was a horrible, horrible time. And strangely enough, my Bible study today was talking about the silent time between the Old Testament and the New Testament when God was just silent for 400 years. And people got a little crazy. And when you are going through that and you feel like he's missing, and not hearing you, I know how hard it can be because I've done that in my life, not in that particular situation, but when you feel like that maybe he's not hearing us. And that's a really that I think that is a perfect description of what I couldn't believe that was my Bible study today because I thought, oh my gosh, I bet that is exactly how you feel when you're in that situation. But I'm going to let you go ahead and talk and tell your story. I am sorry I started with that because that may have been really emotional.
No.
So I'm sorry, but I just thought that was so appropriate. And I thought, gosh, what a perfect way to lead into this because it just feels like a silent time. So you go ahead and tell your story, and I'll ask questions as I think I might have one.
That's fine. Okay. So, me and Paul, my husband, started dating when we were 16 and 17. We got married after college. Feel like we've been together forever because we basically had. And we knew right away, like, that I always said I wanted 5 kids. Now that we've had 3, I'm like, might have been excessive. When you'd ask Paul how many kids he wanted, he'd say a pile, like whatever that's supposed to mean. He just wanted a pile. So we were married about a year, did the fun things that newlyweds get to do without kids and stuff. And we thought, well, let's get serious. Let's try this. Another year rolled by and nothing had happened. And I noticed myself that just stuff wasn't cycling like it should and all the things. So mentioned it to my doctor. Hey, this is what's going on. We've been trying about a year. Nothing's working. So we did a few things, nothing major medical, but did a few things. And he said, okay, you should be on the right track. Another year rolls by. So we're going 2 years of just begging God every month. Okay, this is going to be it. This is it. This is going to be it. We had so many people praying for us. We had, and you talk about the silent time. It was crickets. It was silence. I felt like I just didn't
Yeah.
hear anything from him. Um, so we go in, we're 2 years in, still not much, still not pregnant. And so, my doctor said, "Well, let's kind of get a little bit serious about this." So he put me on a medicine. I can't even remember the name of it. My husband, he relates everything to cattle. So he basically told me I got a Lutolite shot. I'm like, that's not what it is, but
Yeah, right.
so we did that twice. Both times I felt everything inside of me saying, don't do this. Like this isn't God's plan. You're messing with God there by doing the medicine and doing the science. And so after the second round, I had horrible nightmares with that medicine. Like I'm telling you, sweating, just horrible nightmares. So I said, no, we're not doing medicine. Um, Still nothing happened. We did lots and lots and lots of praying, just like I said, begging God every day. Um, got up to my next, I was meeting with Moby every 3 months. So we got in, it was around November of 2018. My OB tells me, um, basically, medically, I've done everything I can for you. He prayed with me. He was amazing. He did a lot for me as far as spiritually goes, but he said, medically, my job as a doctor, I've done everything I can for you. I really think it's seriously timed if you're really wanting to get pregnant to go on and meet with a specialist. So I was really nervous about that. I got home, me and Paul talked about it. We prayed about it and we both decided, hey, let's wait and get through the holidays. Let's just, it's November, Christmas is coming up. Let's just hands in the air, get through the holidays. January, we'll talk. January of 2019, I got pregnant. So it's kind of like, and we both just kind of just, God, you got this, take care of it. So January of 19, I got pregnant. We had our first baby, October of 2019. He's the light of our lives, and we thought, well, God gave us our miracle, and we're good. Then 2 more baby boys later, he keeps blessing us. So infertility it's something that so many people struggle with. Um, a lot of people don't get their answer; they don't get their baby, and that's tough. That I can't, because I can't imagine. But yeah, God has really been amazing to us because 3 babies later and we're blessed beyond anything we could ever imagine.
Yeah, and your boys are just hilarious. They come with Paul when he shoes sometimes, and they visit me. And if I'm outside, of course, I always go visit with them. But
Uh-huh.
my daughter laughs because she said they don't talk to anybody else. She goes, "Mom, they don't talk to anybody but you." And I find that to be hilarious because they just jabber to me. But they are. I always think about the scripture, let your yes be yes and your no be no, every time I talk to your boys, because they are very direct and I mean, yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I will. No, I can't. I mean, there is no extra words that are coming out of their mouths. And it is the funniest thing because you can just tell they were taught not to, mess around, and they're so sweet and so polite. And Paul's just got his thumb on him constantly. I'm like, they're fine. They just came in earlier, and I said, I know you guys have got to be starving. Do you need a snack? Yes, we are very hungry. And so
Oh my gosh, they had so
again,
many snacks.
again, the truck was completely full of snacks. And so, but I just love them. They're just hilarious. And so you and I talked before the podcast started that we had another friend, family of family that went through this exact same thing. And in that time when you're not getting the answer to your prayers, it's so hard. It's just so hard. And but during the silent time between the Old Testament and the New Testament, when the Israelites, the Jewish people just heard nothing from God. And I think it was so appropriate that we were talking today because of that resemblance. And it's not just with infertility, it's with all things that when we go through these struggles and we're just begging and pleading with him and we think that he's not listening, but he always is. I love the fact that you stopped with the doctors. And I know a lot of people don't, and I'm not condemning them for that. And I mean, that's not what this is about. You have to do what you feel, led to do. But I think when we let the Holy Spirit guide us, it's a whole different ball game. And the fact that you just turned it over and then he instantly
Answered.
answered your prayer,
Yeah.
he instantly did it. And almost just like, okay. I know it's funny because my daughter now has 3, and they too wanted a pile of kids. Her husband is just he came from a huge family, and he just wants he wants a baseball team, I think.
Uh-huh.
And Quincy had a lot of trouble having babies. She didn't necessarily have trouble getting pregnant. We did go through a miscarriage, which was also horrible, and that was another thing that I never had to deal with, but it was heartbreaking for my daughter. But she said when we had our first one it was great. I mean, it was an adjustment because we have this great baby. She goes, the second one, it was like going from playing junior college softball to Division One. She said it was different. But we knew what we were doing. We could do it. We were just a step up. We just had to get better, just better at parenting. She goes, when we had that third one, we don't even know what sport we're playing.
It rocks you. It rocks you.
She goes, I'm serious. There's like, what are we doing? And they're the same exact way now. They're like, he wanted all these kids. He's like, I think we're good. This is fine. But God also has a sense of humor. And we like to think that we know that this is the last one. And then all of a sudden it's like, surprise.
Yeah.
And so these other people I was telling you about, they just literally, same deal. They could not get pregnant, cannot get pregnant. And they just were blessed with their third today. They have 2 little girls and a little boy. I think it was today. I just saw it on Facebook today, and
Mhm.
we were so happy for them because just like with you all, we were praying for them constantly and constantly. And their new one, I'm not kidding. It might be 9 months apart, maybe 10, maybe a little bit longer, but that's a brave woman right there.
That is.
I think I'm not sure I let Kevin touch me for a year. I mean, it's like, just don't even think about it. Oh, but I had
Yeah.
trouble having mine, the second one, when I had Emma, I had, like, my husband does not get scared. He and Paul are very similar. I mean, nothing
Mhm.
probably phases Paul. And,
No.
um, they took me to the hospital and did an EKG and said I had a blood clot and in my lung, and I literally watched Kevin turn white. And,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, when, this big strapping guy it never shows fear, and then you're standing there and you see them scared, well, then you're, mortified.
Right.
And he just said that I'm not doing that again. He said, because I wanted to have more children because I, we just, gosh, we just had the greatest kids. And I mean, we just had a blast. We waited till we were older. So it wasn't, we were able to enjoy them. And I don't know that we could have afford them then, but we can finally afford them
We
now.
can.
And so I think that it was, we wanted more, but he said, I'm going to have a dead wife and 3 kids. I'm not doing it. And I said, oh yeah, they're my so-called friends would be lined up to the road with tater tot casseroles. I wouldn't even be dead 24 hours, and there'd be
Oh,
all
yeah,
these
you're
women ready to fill my spot. I don't think he'd have any trouble finding anybody else.
That's
But
funny.
this is a very serious topic, and I'm not trying to make light of it but
No.
I find humor in all things just to survive, I think, just to get myself through the day. But so what would um your advice be to these women? Obviously, prayer and turning things over to God, but that's a lot easier said than done, isn't it?
It's so easy to say than do. And, I had so many women come to me and were like, I know what you've been through. I've been there. I've done, and stubborn me, I was like, you don't know what this feels like. I believe
Mhm.
you, but you don't know what this feels like. I wish I would have listened. And maybe that's why God made me wait so long because I wasn't listening to anybody.
Yeah.
I was just trying to listen for him and he was talking to me. I just was, I don't know. Find you a really good support, whether it just be your husband, because he was mine. Sorry, I'm a crier.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's all
emotional.
right. I am too.
You know, he was mine and he still is. I think my husband's the greatest thing in the world besides my 3 kids. And find you a really, really good support. Just find you someone that you can really, really lean on because that that day one of your cycle, whenever you don't think it's coming, is hard. So that would be my biggest advice. Find you a really good support group, whether it's one person or whether it's a whole group of ladies at your church. We had people praying for us, and I was very thankful for the prayers. And I was, looking back now, there was more people praying for me than I realized. And,
Mm,
talking to people after I even had him, they was, "Oh yeah, I work with your aunt. She told me about that. I've been praying for you." And, just the power of prayer is amazing. And just digging into my faith. At the time, we were both raised Catholic. So at the time we were, going to the Catholic church. We've now converted to we go to a Baptist church now, but still it doesn't matter. I'm the type of person I could go sit in any church as long as you're praising God, it's church. But at the time, um, I don't feel like there was that kind of support in my church where I'm at now. I think I would have had more support, but that's a whole other subject. Um,
yeah,
Find you a
that's a
group of
good.
ladies that will rally around you and pray for you. My pastor's wife texted me this morning and said, "Praying for you today. I hope just that's the kind of support that you need, and that's the kind of support that anyone needs. Young moms, definitely. And I know I kind of mentioned in my message to you, and I'll touch on it a little bit. Even after you have your babies, the postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, people don't talk about that, and
No,
that's
and then
that's that's a
it's
whole nother beast.
real because it
Real,
wrecks your body too. I mean, your
yes.
body is just wrecked and you feel I know that my daughter's going through some of that now. She just every time she looks at a picture, she just cringes, and I'm like, "Honey, you are beautiful and look at these beautiful babies."
Mhm.
And I want to touch on that, but I want to back up a little bit too because the circle, see, I read something recently, circles are better than rows. And so when you have that circle, it's imperative who your friends are and your support group. And just like you said, Paul was, you couldn't have done it without him. And Kevin has been that person for me and a lot of times. But my friends, I have a lot of really, really good friends that have got me through some stuff. But without God, I could have never gotten through any of it. But there's also that you love to getting the support from people, but sometimes their advice, people need to learn boundaries, because I feel like there's but well, my coach, and the only reason that I know this, and it's like even like when you lose a child, and my writing coach had lost a child, she miscarried a child, and all these people have all this wonderful advice for you that have
Mhm.
never gone through it,
Mhm.
and that's when we all need to just seriously just shut up. And I mean, seriously, shut up, because if you don't know what someone's going through, if you've not experienced yourself firsthand, you not don't say anything,
Mhm.
because but be there. It's not that you shouldn't be there. Definitely show up. But just sitting next to somebody, holding their hand, giving them a hug, and just not saying anything is way more important than having, everybody thinks we have to have something to say. You have to,
Mhm.
sometimes you don't, and
Right.
that was what, and I learned from Kim so much because so many people said things that just wrecked her,
Mhm.
and I mean, just like, well, they're angels now. No, they're not. They're in heaven, but
Yeah.
they're, that's not a thing.
Right.
Just things that just they think it makes you happy, and it's literally wrecking you. And I think who you surround yourself with, and just getting away from some of that just crazy talk that
Mhm.
can just absolutely. And we also have to be, I mean, what this is what I'm learning the older I get, and I wish I was as founded in my faith as you are at your age as I am now. I mean, man, I could have really gotten some stuff done back back many years ago, and not some stuff done if I would have been the person that the relationship that I have with Jesus now, compared to wow, in my 20s, terrifying. But we learn so much from that. And we're not supposed to not do things. That's not what I mean. But just the experiences that we have and the knowledge. I love that you are able to know now that those women, that you're able to get something from them. And I think that's the thing that I think that I want to these kids today. I tried for years. I taught this youth group, and I've just begged them, please just learn from my mistakes. And we can't, we just have to try it ourselves. Oh, let me just jump off this cliff. I want to, it'd be so fun. So dumb, just learn from me. But we can't. But when you have those women and those praying women and a counselor or a friend that actually is in the Holy Spirit and has all of those gifts of the Spirit, it is invaluable because they are able to pour out all of that they have, that just fountain of, well, we're clay pots, I mean,
Right.
we are literally made of clay, and if in and we're clay pots made by the potter's hands, full of these things, if we will allow him to fill us. And the more that we fill, the more we're able to pour out to others. And I think that, gosh, it's spiritual women say things to me completely change the trajectory of my thought process, or make you feel, I mean, just a completely different way than you were going. Or a Bible study, something as simple as a Bible study, a group of women in a Bible study, or men for that matter, just having the Bible as your foundation, having God as your foundation, it changes everything. And I don't know, we live in such a creepy world right now. I mean, the fact that I'm doing this is creepy because never in a million years thought that I would ever be doing a podcast. I didn't even know what a podcast was. And so the fact that I'm doing this weekly is just hilarious, but it's also kind of cool because I think that when you use this social media as a tool for God and for reaching people that with real information, it's invaluable. And so back to the part about the postpartum stuff. Talk about that a little bit more.
Um, it was so after my first one, I do feel like doctors are getting better. My oldest is 5, my youngest is 6 months. After my oldest, that first postpartum appointment, they're like, "Oh, here's a survey, fill this out." And it's
Oh,
you know, you feel happy all the time, strongly agree, strongly disagree, and you go through and then they score you, and there's actual terminology for that survey. I don't know what it's
yeah.
called, but in the first one, I was looking back, I was crazy. Yeah, but I was new mom crazy. But as
Yeah.
far as the anxious thoughts or depression, so to say, it wasn't really, really there. Yes, I was very particular about how I wanted things done, and no, we can't do that. We have to do it this way type of anxiety. But so my second son was born 20 months after my first. So I found out on my first son's first birthday that I was pregnant.
Oh,
And I remember, I remember thinking, but I have a baby. I already have, and then
happy birthday.
I automatically felt so guilty because we prayed for so long for this one. And this is a blessing. Like, wow, and I felt guilty for thinking, well, I already have a baby. Why, But the anxiety was really real with him. Um, I mean, crazy stuff. Like I just never would turn my back on either one of them. And I drove myself crazy because I was just so wrapped up in, well, what if this happened? What if that happened? To the point where, like, so my husband, Paul, works cattle for people, and he works with the same crew of guys every day. And like, he would leave and I would just bawl because I just knew that somebody was going to come knock on my door and tell me that a cow kicked him and he's done.
Oh my gosh. Oh, good.
Crazy
Yeah.
stuff that, like, we do this every day. We've done this forever. Like,
Yeah.
why all of a sudden? Um, it sounds crazy, but inside it was not crazy to me, So
Right.
everyone else is going through that. You're not crazy.
Yeah.
Um, your hormones and your body is doing some really crazy stuff to you. So after my second, the survey, come rolled around and I answered it truthfully. And my doctor prescribed me some anxiety medication. That helped. Again, dug deeper into my faith, kind of got through the rough first 4 or 5 months that are just, the first 4 months really of a newborn's life is just a whirlwind for
Yeah.
as a mom. Things were
And you think it takes forever, but you blink and it's over.
right. Yeah.
In hindsight now, it's like and when you're living in it, you're in hell. But then when it's over, it's like, oh, there are three. What happened to my baby? It's just
Yes.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
fast. Yes.
Um, and then everyone, social media has ruined so much for moms, I think. Um, you see all these posts, well, it takes a village, it takes a village. My village lives 10 hours away.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
At the drop of a hat, they're here, but they're still 10 hours away.
Right.
So that kind of things I let steal my
Joy.
my joy, my pride, my self-confidence even. Like, as a mom, I had no confidence. I didn't think I knew what I was doing. I don't know, I still don't know what I'm doing, but they're alive, you know? Um,
They're doing pretty good.
they are.
Yeah.
As after my third one, which he's 6 months now, the depression. I'd never experienced depression. That rocked me. Um, Ladies, do not, when you get that survey, fill it out and fill it out truthfully. I didn't. I lied. I lied to my husband. I lied to everyone, which my husband eventually saw through me and God saw me through it. But the doctors are, like I said, I feel like doctors are doing better. Um, my newborn, his pediatrician and my OB are now making me fill out these forms. So after about the third one that I'd lied on, I realized, hey, you're not being truthful with yourself, you're not being truthful with your family, you're not being truthful with your kids. Um, it's time to dig deep and do something. And I'm sorry, mama, daddy, anyone else that's going to listen to this, they don't know half of it. But I think if anything, anyone gets anything out of this, I hope that they can get to you're not alone. And I mean, it feels like you're totally alone. You're not. And don't don't dismiss your sadness. Don't dismiss your I feel like I remember literally laying in bed one night thinking, they don't need me.
Oh,
I have 3 kids. They need you.
I
um,
definitely need you. Yes.
Mom, they need you.
Yeah.
Like, like
Yeah.
Kevin said, he couldn't do it without you. I'm pretty sure Paul would be lost too. Like, there'd probably be a
Yeah.
line down the driveway.
They're
He
both
said
very handsome men. Yes, they are.
he said that about casseroles. We joke. Casseroles aren't a thing in the South.
They're
And since
not?
we live here, no, nobody eats that. We didn't grow up eating casseroles.
Well, you
And
shouldn't because I think they're made from everything that's terrible for your body. So good for you guys.
since we moved here, that's been a joke all the time. If I try a casserole, Paul's like, "Oh, no, you've been in Missouri too long cooking casseroles."
Oh, that's a Baptist church too. That'll get you with a casserole.
They will. They
Yeah,
will.
they are a casserole bringing bunch right there.
They
Yeah.
showed up with loads of them after my third
Oh,
one.
heck yeah.
But anyway, ladies, you're not alone. There was, like I said, there was a night I thought they didn't need me, and I actually started making a mental list of, oh, I need to go stick a sticky note on the formula can so he knows how to fix that. I need to go, and I heard God tell me, if you need to leave all those notes, they need you a little bit more than you think. And so I did. A mental list, like, oh, their vitamins are on auto ship. Like, oh, they'll be fine. They'll get their vitamins, maybe, and if you need to, I heard God tell me, if you need to list all that out and line all that up, you're needed. and you're not needed just for your physical appearance and your caregiving abilities. So I listened to God. Thank God. Um, pulled myself out of it, talked to my husband about it, and it's okay. There is light. I always spring is here. You know,
Yeah.
there's sunshine, there's warm days, and
The sun
it's
makes a huge difference.
oh,
Makes it
it does, yes. um,
But
but
women, we do that to ourselves. We all think we're women, and social media is great at making you think you have to be. You
right,
compare. It's great at comparing your lives to other. I try really, really hard um, to show real stuff. Real life stuff, and everyone thinks that our lives are just sunshines and roses. But if you'll read my books, they're definitely not. And I'm very real about the troubles that we have and how hard it is to do what we do. And my uh I used to do that. The thing is 99% of the things that we worry about never happen. And when, the Bible tells us that we're not supposed to fear, do not fear over and over and over. And it's so easy to say that, but not, I mean, man, with my grandkids. So I was with our first child, I know exactly what you mean because you are just like you want to put them in a bubble. You want the boy in the bubble and nothing to get near them, to protect them. And you sanitize everything and you do all these. Now the second one, you just blow the binky off and stick it in their mouth. It's like they're fine. So, and we learn on the farm quick that their immune system builds up a lot quicker in the dirt than it does locked in a house somewhere. So but it's so hard because you see all these pictures of all these perfect children and their perfect outfits and their perfect and their moms and their perfect bodies and their matching dresses and all these, and it's garbage. I mean, those people
yeah,
are not real. I mean, that's the thing. It's not real. The real, and moms, another thing we don't do is give ourselves a minute. We have to. And I am lucky because I have the privilege of getting to stay home. At first, I thought it was torturous because I loved my job, but I have I am able to I don't have little ones at home, and so I get to spend time, in my Bible in the morning. And that is so hard for working moms or moms with young
mhm,
children at all, just to carve that 20 minutes out for yourself. And the thing is though, the more you study and the more time you spend with God, the more you crave him and the more you want to know and the more time you want to spend and the less time you have, seems like because your babies are just getting busier and busier and busier. But when you do it, it makes such a difference. And you can't ignore yourself, and I mean, and that's another thing that we struggle with as Christians because we are servants and we know that. And that's another thing you've got to give yourself credit for because you are killing it as a servant for Christ, for your family, for your husband, for your boys. And we don't give ourselves that credit. We think that we need to be doing something outside of our homes. I'm telling you what, probably 90% of what's wrong with America is that we're not doing it in our homes. If
mhm,
everybody was doing what you're doing with those babies, the way that you and Paul are, oh my gosh, what a wonderful world it would be. I mean,
thank
really.
you.
But yeah, I mean, they're just hilarious. I mean, they were just knocking on my door with eggs. They check for eggs for me every time they're here, and
It's a
they're hilarious. They're just the greatest little guys. And but you can tell that you know how much time that you spend with them, and they just their manners and all the things that they're just well loved. But we as mommies and grandmas, we got to love ourselves too. And you've got to be honest when those things are happening because it's horrible. And I don't want to scare you, but menopause isn't any better.
oh,
So,
great.
I mean, well, maybe you'll just rock right through it because some women never even know it happens, but it like to killed me. And so, luckily, Kevin, just like with Paul saying, you know what? this isn't right. We got to figure this out and we got to get you better. He did that with me, and it's a game changer. And once you are finally honest and you quit trying to be Superwoman, because we're just not,
Right.
we
So
sometimes
we think we might
we're,
be, but
I mean, yeah, and we do a lot of things. And that's another thing I get sick of on women, you know, eh, we're all created equal, blah, blah, blah. We're not. Women and men cannot do the same things. We
no.
are Wonder Women. We can have babies. Babies come out of our bodies, and it's super cool. Guys can't do that. I'm
Right.
sorry, but they can't. And so
No.
we do have some power there. But obviously we can't do it without their help. And I don't want to do the things that guys do, but I had a literal conversation this morning with one of my hired gals, and we were talking about how the difference in communication, men and women, and things that make us happy. Men are driven by a lot of times by money. Men think about the number. They're trying to provide for their families and they want to be successful. And so, they're driven by money, and money means a lot to men. Money, success, and sex, I mean, that's just
That's
real
where the
life.
boys
I mean,
are.
that's where they think. But women, all we really want every now and then is a little praise. Just an a baby or good job, a pat on the back. I don't know about you, but if he just the simplest little affirmation, I
Uh-huh.
mean, I can go for days, years, even on just a
Right.
little bit of you did good. And I
Mhm.
wish we could explain that to them because they don't think that way. They just want to do,
No.
do, 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 and we're doing, 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 and we're holding
Mhm.
all this stuff in because we're trying to get, take care of them and all the things when they're thinking completely outside the box. All they see is food, their wives fulfilling all of the things that they have for them,
Right.
and then how they can take care of us, but they don't see just I mean, just even this is so stupid. We were at a concert in Las Vegas, and he leaned over and kissed me on the back of the head. Just I mean,
Mhm.
there's a sea of people, and I'm 56 years old. We're not young by any stretch of the imagination. We're not old yet, but that was it meant so much to me because there was all these, hot women around, and just the fact that he was showing me that you're mine, that little bitty bit of affirmation, seems so silly, but it's true. And so when you're going through things like that you're talking about and that depression, those tiny little things like that can drag you out of a pit. I
Yeah.
mean, that and my husband, I don't know about Paul, but Kevin is terrible about thinking that there's just no such thing. That's just not real.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
now that he works with so many people, he understands that it is real, because it's just been put under the rug for so long. Like it's just something you can deal with and you can get up. You can't. Sometimes you can't without help.
Right.
I
Well,
mean,
Paul's very black and white. Like
yeah,
right and wrong.
yeah,
We stay in the line and that's it. Like, what do you
yeah,
mean? Like he's just not a he has feelings, don't get me wrong. He
yeah,
has
right.
feelings. They're
Yeah,
not he doesn't express them very often.
right.
And
Neither does Kevin.
like when
Well,
he
and
does,
they
it's
don't want to have deep conversations either. I mean,
not much,
you
no.
we talk
Yeah.
about stuff like that because I mean, it's a lot of times I don't think they grasp it because they're just not wired the way that we are. I mean, they're just
No.
not, they don't have, I don't think they don't fear the things that we fear. And if they do, they sure don't show it.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that, gosh, that circle of people that we were talking about, and even counseling, professional Christian counseling is huge. Did you ever go and try that?
I didn't, you know, one of those things. I guess I kind of have a little bit of my husband in me, and I think,
You
you know,
yeah,
I'll take that back. I have a lot of my dad in me. So my dad
yeah,
is a man that just,
yeah,
you're sick, take some Tylenol, get better.
yeah,
Like
right.
he's just very
Yeah,
and so but I did not. I just really just dug deeper in my faith, and I thank God that that was enough.
yeah,
And honestly, I literally I felt like he said, "Hey, if you need to do all these things and list all these things out and leave instructions, then you are needed. You are valued. And just hearing that and that affirmation from God, and um, that was enough for me. It's unfortunately not enough for a lot of women.
no.
And I agree with
Oh,
you. Christian counseling,
yeah.
our speaking with now that I've shared it with a few more people, I'm still very not many. Like there's gonna be a lot of people shocked when they hear this, and I'm sorry. I'm okay. I'm okay, I promise. But it's it's very important. Reach out, get help, um, call the hotline number, do something. Do something. I Not long after I went through what I went through, I actually saw a post from a young girl that was local. I didn't know her personally, but a local from where me and Paul both are from Louisiana, that postpartum one. And she left behind a husband and 2 young babies.
Oh, no. Oh my
And
goodness.
that's not worth it. It's not worth it. Like you said, we're not superwomen, but we're pretty close. And
Yep,
those babies and that husband need us.
that's right.
They
They
need
do
us.
need us.
They do. They would
I
behave.
think men and women both struggle with purpose. That purpose thing is important, and you get kinda lost in you get lost after you have all these babies because you're I went through that once mine were grown. 'Cause, I mean, your purpose now is to be a mom and a wife, and when they leave and I struggled hard with this, and Emma got real mad at me one day, we were driving, and I quit my job, and I didn't have a job anymore, and I was working here and doing the ranch stuff, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and finally, she's like, "Mom, you're my mom. That's your purpose. Why do you think that you need something you're my mom." I mean, and she was so serious. She was like 25, when she was telling me this. So it wasn't like, she was tiny, but I mean, she was tiny, but she wasn't young. But
Yeah.
she you know what I mean? And so sometimes we got to remind ourselves we are needed. I mean,
Mhm.
just like, God was able to tell you that, but we are needed. We were made on purpose with a purpose for a purpose,
Right.
and even if it is only to care for our families, that is humongous. I mean,
Mhm.
that is the biggest job you could ever have. And if more people would just do that, again,
Mhm.
I mean, what a difference it would make in the world to have the men and women that actually stay married for one thing and raise their families in church with God, as God as and the husbands at the head of the household, and it just makes, God's plan is God's plan. I mean, there's a reason that he put it in
Absolutely.
place. And just like the food that we eat, we were talking about my little granddaughter is having some problems, and it's just been terrifying for all of us. My newest grandbaby, and they're trying to say now that she might have some sort of autoimmune
Mhm.
disease. And I recently, last week, my doctor's trying to tell me that I have one. I don't know if I do or not. But Quincy, we were having this discussion last night, and she said, I think it's all the processed food and garbage that we put in our bodies. And
Yeah.
she's probably not wrong. I mean, there's God didn't make that stuff. He made some very beautiful things that if we would just eat them, we'd
Mhm.
all be so much healthier. Our weight would be, you know, lower. All the things that all his plans are perfect. What
Right.
happens is we get in there and we try to jack it up. So what so even like I think about your situation, I also think about women who are single and longing to be married and never they feel like they never get that answer. Sometimes we don't. And just like you said earlier, sometimes you don't ever get pregnant.
Mhm.
And sometimes you don't ever find, that person and you end up being single. But that doesn't mean that God has forgotten us or he's
Mhm.
not answering our prayers or, you have a purpose for something different. We don't always get to decide. We think we know we think we want to be in charge, but we're not in
Mhm.
charge of anything, you
No.
know. And so that part, how would you what would you say to those people? I mean, how
Um, if there's one thing I've learned from all of this is when it's not his plan, you can't force it at
yeah.
all. Like, you cannot force it. And when it is his plan, you absolutely cannot stop it. Um, it's
It's
when it's
coming.
he's giving it to you. So, more than it yeah, like, there's we don't get to write any of the story.
Mm,
Um, he's the author of it, and when he formed us, he knew every sin we were gonna make. He knew every step he knew everything, and he still created us because he loves us that much.
yeah.
Um, he knew the choices we were gonna make, and he still created us, and, I just think that's amazing, that's beautiful, and just to sit back and think, you hear, all the stars in the sky and he still created me. I literally looked up last night. We
Mhm.
got home after dark and I looked up and we just recently moved to a new place and it's in the middle of the country and the stars are amazing. I thought we were in the country at our other place. And now
Yeah.
that we're looking, I mean, the stars are amazing. And when you look up at something like that, something so beautiful as the stars, the sunrise, the sunset, all the beautiful things that he's created, but he created each one of us too.
Yep.
So, anyone that's struggling, just remember that. He created all of us too. He created you, and he created you on purpose with a purpose, and we can't stop what his plans are. So,
That
we just
that's
kinda
right.
have to buckle up and live with it, live real enjoy the ride and enjoy and
Right.
dig in and try to just enjoy everything about it.
Yeah. And even though it's his story and it's gonna go his way, it's our job to tell it and to
Right.
give him the glory because,
Absolutely.
all the things that have happened, um, in our lives happen for a reason because for his kingdom, I think, and I think your sharing this is going to help so many women today and realize that they're not alone and that if they are alone, they definitely need to reach out to somebody that's been there. Maybe even I could if they want to reach out and talk about if they're struggling with this, I'll I invite them to reach out to me and I will connect them with you because I'm sure you would love to help them, talk them through it because we don't want anybody taking their lives. That just breaks my heart that you were ever even thinking such thoughts or that this poor woman actually did it. And
Yeah.
that's just that's yeah, that's not a place that we need to be. I think that we're God is good, but it is hard. Life is hard and when it's crickets, it's quiet and scary and you're unsure, but and then when one of my Bible verses this week that just keeps coming up and up and up for the last 2 weeks, it's um seek and you will find. That's the key though. You
Mhm.
got to seek,
Mhm.
and if you're not seeking him and you're not asking him, and praying for the things that you want for your life, then they're not going to happen because
Right.
you got to seek him to find him. If you seek
Absolutely.
him, he's going to be there, but you got to, you got to seek him.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me today and thank you for your heartfelt talk and all the things, and I'm glad you're so much better, and I had no idea any of that was happening, and I am so
A lot
sorry
of
because
people don't,
no,
but it's
I'm
okay.
so sorry. I just kept seeing all these beautiful boys, and I just thought life was great,
It is
and that
great. It is amazing.
it is,
Um, yeah. Yeah, but
it
thank
is.
you for having me so much. I do not mind anyone reaching out to me. I'm not qualified by any means, but
Oh,
no,
neither
thank
am
you
I. Definitely not. But we can certainly hook them up with somebody who is.
Exactly.
I have a
Exactly.
girlfriend that I know that would love to talk to people, and she is a licensed professional. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's nice just to share with somebody. Like I said, I think that God connects us with people. There's a reason things happen to us, and it's to help others. All the things we're supposed to love others and help others, and you can't help somebody if you haven't been there. So
Right.
there's a reason that you went through what you did because you're going to help a lot of people.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yep. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.